Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I'll be talking about the sleepers for both offense and defense. Now last year, I actually did this video, two separate videos before the draft happened, and I liked doing the video, so I want to do it again this year. However, it took too long, and unfortunately I couldn't get it done before the draft. But I think, this would be a different experience as far as someone that I know for sure went 4th, 5th, or all the way down to UDFA. Because last year, I know for sure two of the picks that I had as sleepers went in the second round, which I was surprised about, but I was very happy about them because I did like them. So let's see how this goes. I'm really excited to show you who I think could potentially be good later on in the draft that people either are talking about or aren't talking about at all. To start off, let's go with offense. Now, this quarterback class, not very good, if I'm being honest. Like I said, the only one that I hitched my wagon to was Cam Ward because I felt like, the offensive line improves in Tennessee and whatnot. Like I feel like pretty confident he can be just okay, be a starting quarterback, and have like one or two good seasons in there, maybe even a Pro Bowl or so. But as far as all the other quarterbacks, there's only really one that got drafted in the back half, like in day 3, that has potential, and that's going to be Shedeur Sanders. Am I going to be talking a lot about Shedeur Sanders? No, because you've heard so much about him. But let's just kind of just say, like, right now, is a crowded quarterback room, so it's kind of like anybody's guess who's going to start. Obviously, you think about Joe Flacco. He's worked with Stefanski before. So I don't really know. I think Shedeur can be, at his best, just solid. And I think that's fine enough for now if you're the Browns. Because I think that you're going to have a really good defense. You're hoping that, you kind of minimize your mistakes. I think Shedeur could be that if he's to start. But it'll be very interesting to see if he is or not. But I just want to put that in there. And I do want to say, I think it's beneficial that he did fall to the 5th round for him because it makes him have to prove that he's going to be the starter. If he's able to do that, then I feel pretty confident. I'm like, okay, then that's good for him because he's actually able to prove a lot of his doubters wrong. And if not, then all the doubters get to say they're right about him. So just wanted to shout that out for Shedeur. That's the only really quarterback in the day 3 or later that I think could potentially work out a NFL career. Moving on to running back, and I have 4 running backs that I see as potential being like either good role players or eventually being starters. So start off with Bashaw Tutin from Virginia Tech at pick 104 to the Jaguars. Now, is he going to be a starter? Absolutely not. He could be a starting kickoff specialist. Like I said, I think he's really, really fast. He was really good at kickoff returns at Virginia Tech and also at North Carolina A&T, I believe. So right now he'd be more like your 3rd down running back, even though you still have Travis Etienne. Trevor Etienne went to the Panthers. Even though you still have Travis Etienne. But Travis Etienne is going to his last year of his contract. So, by that notion, if you like Tank Bigsby, who had a really good year last year, and I love Tank Bigsby as well, Auburn proud, I think they'll probably move on, or they might even trade. Who knows? They might even trade Travis Etienne this year if they get a good enough offer. And Bashaw can be the 2nd down and change of pace running back and be that 3rd down running back. But right now, he's more just a kickoff specialist. So it's kind of like looking into the future, but I think he has a really good upside. And if you watch my running back video, I like Bashaw as well. A lot of these players I talk about in my running backs video, so I won't go really deep into them. Just kind of talk about like their role that I think they can fill on these teams. Going down to the very next pick at 105, Cam Skattebo to the Giants. I'm going to say this right here and now. There are some people who are overhyping Cam Skattebo way too much. Like, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, Cam Skattebo, really good power back, absolutely. Does he have the breakaway speed? Absolutely not. Like, some people are trying to compare him to all these different power backs that also had a 2nd, 3rd, even 4th gear, like Blazers. He's not that. But he doesn't have to be that. He can be the power back compared to Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy, really good scat back, also has really good hands. So does Cam Skattebo. But if you're looking for someone who's going to be able to churn those legs, especially in the goal line, Cam Skattebo can be that. So I think, being a second running back, power to Tracy, I think that's a good pairing, a good young pairing where you can have a dynamic backfield. You just got to improve that offensive line. And I'll talk about one of the people they got in the offensive line later on. But I like that pairing. I will say that I don't know how Singletary is going to be in that running back room. He's more of a third down running back, but you already have that with Tyron Tracy. So I guess he's going to be a kickoff specialist, but I don't know. Like I said, the Giants are a very confusing mess. But I do like the pick of Cam Scatterboo. Going on to pick 117 to the Rams is Jarquez Hunter. I love Jarquez Hunter. I mean, Auburn, like I said, I'm always going to love my Auburn people. I'm going to treat them fairly, though. And is Jarquez Hunter the best running back in this class? Absolutely not. Is he the top 5? No. Is he top 10? I would say he's close to top 10. But like I said, his vision is immaculate. His contact balance and his vision is immaculate. His hands could get better, but I think that's just like we didn't use him as much. So he thinks he has good hands. I think that he's shown that he's had somewhat good hands, but it just hasn't been like a really big part of his game. But as far as someone who goes to the perfect situation, going to the Rams, who still value running backs, but Kyren Williams is going to his last year's contract. And his contract's looking to be like, I'm trying to remember, it was like 14, 16 million. And the Rams are going to have to pay a lot of these other players. So they just drafted last year the Michigan running back. I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head, but I can't think of his name. Shoot, I feel really bad. I forgot his name. But he doesn't have the speed that Jarquez Hunter does have. So I'll be interested to see who takes the second running back room, a second running back, because I think next year they're going to let Kyren Williams go. They're going to save money, and they're going to basically have these two running backs that have been in the system for at least a year. And same as I think for Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams was a 5th-round pick too. So like, it's not like they haven't done it before. Like, so I feel pretty confident that Jarquez Hunter is going to be able to show out, be a second running back, and also be able to prove that, like, okay, I can be the guy next year. So Jarquez Hunter, definitely a guy you should look out for. I feel really, really good about him. And like I said, they also did trade up to get him. So it shows like they do like him because they trade up to get him. So that's something else I'll make a little caveat to. Next one is going to be Dylan Sampson at pick 126 for the Browns. Now, obviously, Quinshon Judkins is the number 1 running back. I love Quinshon Judkins. He's going to be your main guy, and you want to change a pace back. That's going to be Dylan Sampson. For instance, you had your 2 good running back duo. We had Nick Chubb and you had Kareem Hunt. This can be your Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You have two really young running backs who have really good speed. Dylan Sampson has a little bit of a fumble problem. Like I think the last 6 games or so, he had 4 fumbles, which is really bad. But that's the reason why he fell so far. But he's going to be the kind of guy that I think can be really good paired with Quinshon Judkins. Jerome Ford, I think, is in his last year's contract, but he also hasn't really impressed me that much. So I don't feel like I feel like if anything, he might get traded, or he just might be a veteran in that running back room. But he does need to get better at pass pro, so he's not going to be doing that. That's to be more Quinshon Judkins, but he needs to get better on his fumbling. But I feel pretty confident in the talent that he had. It's a one of those kind of 1-year wonder kind of thing. You're kind of hoping that's not, but the talent is there, and he doesn't have to be the guy. So I feel pretty confident that Dylan Sampson can be like that, change of pace and home run hitter that also Quinshon Judkins can be. So I like Dylan Sampson go to the Browns. So those are the 4 running backs that I have. Moving on to wide receivers, and I have 3 wide receivers with some shout out. Oh, sorry. Shout out to Brashard Smith. So Brashard Smith went to the Chiefs in the 7th round, pick 228. I just wanted to shout that out mainly because of the fact it was I think that he could fit really well with the Chiefs. Because of the fact that you have a whole mess with what's happening with Isaiah Pacheco, who had a kind of a down year last year. And then outside of that, it's Carson Steele. So I think Brashard Smith can find himself a little bit of a room, but 7th round is a little bit I don't really know. So I didn't really do a lot of deep dive into him, but I do like that pick for them because I do like Brashard Smith as well. Speaking of the Chiefs, the first wide receiver we're talking about is at 133 is Jalen Royals to the Chiefs. I was so upset he went to the Chiefs because, one, I really like Jalen Royals. I think he was I'm trying to think. I think he was my 6th wide receiver, 6th or 7th. I can't remember. off the top of my head. But Jalen Royals is so good after the catch. Like, just he's a great route runner, great after the catch. There was some stuff like, obviously he's coming off injuries this past year. But as far as like his tape, you would just watch his tape. Really good route runner, really good after the catch. And if Rashee Rice is going to be suspended for a substantial amount of time, Jalen Royals can fit that role. He can legit fit that role. Or he can just find like him a place in the Chiefs offense, because you need to find a guy who can find space, and Jalen Royals has shown that as far as like some of his choice routes. So with Travis Kelce more than likely being his last year, you need to find that guy that can get you like that third down, your go-to guy on third down. I think Jalen Royals can be that. I like their wide receiver room as far as like with Hollywood Brown, as far as with Xavier Worthy, but I just feel like that Jalen Royals gives a different option, especially if Rashee Rice is going to be out for however long. But like I said, I think that's really great for him. And then another one that I want to talk about is Keandre Lambert-Smith. It's another Auburn guy, I know, but dude, he was so good last year, and he got super duper slept on early in this draft cycle. Like, a lot of people had him like almost like 7th round, and I was like, that's ridiculous. He should not be 7th round. Thankfully, he goes to pick 158 to the Chargers, goes in the 5th round. Like I said, he is so good, so fast, got really great releases as well. Was a veteran presence in our wide receiver room. But one of the knocks that was against him that I hated that people come and point out was like his contested catch rate. If you watched Auburn football games last year, Peyton Thorne, Hank Brown, or whoever, more like it was one of those two, they were not very good at ball placement at all. So like a lot of those contested catches are not really on him. Now, like, sure, he can get better at it, but like they're like, oh, this is ridiculously low. Yeah, if you like the same as I think for Iowa State, their quarterback was not the best and did not put Jaden Higgins or Jalen Noel in the best situations as far as like placing the ball. So in a good setting, especially going to Justin Herbert, I think that's perfectly fine for KLS. That's his nickname, KLS. But Keandre Lambert-Smith, like I said, he's a nephew of Cam Chancellor, so like he knows what it takes to be in the NFL because he saw it from his uncle's perspective. He also is going to a perfect spot for him because he gets to be the speed that the Chargers are going to need because they lost Josh Palmer. So they lost Josh Palmer. They need that kind of guy that's going to be able to be a deep threat. I think Keandre Lambert-Smith can be that. They got Trey Harris. I want to kind of talk about Trey Harris a little bit too in this scenario. I think Trey Harris is going to be more so a replacement for Michael Williams next year because they got Mike Williams back, but he's going to be more of a veteran presence. I don't really know what they're going to be doing with Quentin Johnston because I don't feel confident about Quentin Johnston. I don't think they feel very confident with Quentin Johnston. So I don't know unless he shows something out in third season. But I like what the Chargers done. It's a little bit of a crowded wide receiver room. Obviously, they already had Ladd McConkey, but I love Keandre Lambert-Smith here for them because he's got really good hands, really great speed, and like I said, really great releases as well. So interested to see what a Greg Roman offense is going to do for him. The last one that I kind of want to talk about is Jimmy Horn Jr. for the Panthers. Dude, I was so excited we got him because I loved him a little bit earlier in the draft. I remember more people started talking about, like, so Steve released a video talking about him. Brett Coleman's also talking about him before too. And just like people just kind of show like, he's very underrated, and like some of that has to do with what happened in Colorado. Like, like maybe like they had like a really good wide receiver course. Like it wasn't like necessarily him getting a lot of the targets, but dude is blazing fast with amazing routes. Yes, he's small. Obviously he's small, but to all the way down to 208, that's ridiculous to me. That's ridiculous to me because like people need a deep threat and someone who is got really good hands. Yeah, he's small, but he can take a hit because he's showing in the college. So like he can be your wide receiver 4, and like we need that. We need someone who's going to be a deep threat who can be playing the slot because he can play in the slot as well. And you already have basically your top 4 guys. He can be wide receiver 5 until Adam Thielen retires next year, and he can move into the wide receiver 4 role. So like I said, I'm really happy that we got Jimmy Horn Jr. I think he's going to be a good kickoff specialist for us as well in the beginning of his career, and then transition into being an absolute dog when he's on the field because he gets more opportunities in the second year. So Jimmy Horn Jr., look out for him, especially in our offense, because we've shown time and time again, well, not time and time again, we showed this year that Dave Canales wants more speed. We saw a little more of Devin Tompkins, who is more of a speedy guy, not really the best, but like has a speed. Jimmy Horde Jr. has speed and has great hands, so I'm very excited to see what he's going to do in our offense. Maybe just brought me a little bit down the line. And then also kind of going to give a shout out to two undrafted free agents. Both of them are the Panthers. I don't think they're going to make the team, unfortunately. But Kobe Hudson, loved him coming out of college. Unfortunately, like the problems that happened when he left Auburn, I think have kind of like came the reason why he kind of followed a little bit, and also some of his hands. Like I said, he doesn't have the best hands. He has really great routes, really good speed, but his hands were always a problem when he was at Auburn and at UCF. And some of the problems of why he got let go from the Auburn team, I think, is what's following him. I think he's still a good prospect. If I'm going to be honest, shout out to all the Panthers fans who might remember, he might be our Omar Bayless. If you don't know anything about Panthers football, that's fine. But back in like 2017, 2018, there was a guy from Arkansas State, legend Omar Bayless, who kept on almost making the final roster, but kept on making the practice squad. Like he was really good, shut out in training camp, but he just never could make the roster. I think Kobe Hudson could potentially be that for us. Just be like a really good player that shows on the camp, but unfortunately, because the wide receiver room's too crowded, is not going to make it. So just want to shout that out. And also Moose Muhammad, the third. Loved him when his sophomore season in Texas A&M, and then unfortunately, as the season progressed, his junior and his senior year, he got less targets. Something was up. I don't know what was going on over there, but he had a really good sophomore season. I thought there was a chance that he could break out in his junior year. I was really excited for him, and unfortunately, just nothing materialized, which really sucks for him. But really hope he gets a shot. Like I said, just want to shout out those two players. Now moving on to offensive line. So offensive line, there's a couple players, actually some undrafted free agents that I'm surprised went all the way to being an undrafted free agent. I'm assuming it's just because of age, but still really good players. I want to shout them out. First off, the only one that's drafted at pick 154 to the Giants, like I was talking about before, is Marcus Mbow. So Marcus Mbow from Purdue was tackled. Now he's going to be more like a guard, center, convert. He needs time to develop, and if you're the Giants, you got Greg Van Roten, who is a good veteran. He's like 33, 34. So there's also some room for him potentially getting injured because, he's a little bit older. But he's a really solid option at right guard. So if you want Mbow to potentially be that replacement, you can have him develop for a year. Now, if you need to rush him in because Van Roten gets hurt or something happens with Evan Neal, God forbid, because Evan Neal is just not that good, then he could be a replacement. I think he's going to be more of that swing guard. He could potentially be somebody who can just try to fill out in all the positions because he has some position flexibility. He's just a little bit smaller to play actual tackle. So that's where I feel better for him at guard. Like I said, Mbow, I think that he should, in the best scenario for him, is to develop this year and then take over for Greg Van Roten. But I think that in a pinch, he can slide in and he can still be decent in his rookie year as he transitions from tackle to guard. So, like Marcus Mbow, I'm really interested to see how he does because this Giants offensive line is not good outside of Andrew Thomas. So when Andrew Thomas went down last year, it was awful. So hopefully he gets a shot. And then also down to the three other undrafted free agents that I was kind of surprised that they fell. Some of them not as much, but some of them were just they were good players. I don't care that they're 24. They're still good players. They probably should be drafted in the 6th or 7th round. But anyways, first off, undrafted to the Bucks is Jake Majors, center from Texas. Now, I understand he's a little undersized, so I understand that's why he kind of fell a little bit. But he's got plenty of experience. He started 3 years at Texas. So I was I'm trying to remember exactly how many games he played in, but it was closer to 30. 38, 40, something like that. He had a whole lot of starts. And the other fact, too, is that he called a lot of the protections while he was at Texas. It wasn't Quinn Ewers. It was him. So he has a lot of experience. He calls protections. So him going to the Bucks, I hate it because I really wanted him to go to the Panthers because we have a interesting center situation on our hands. But now you got Graham Barton, who's obviously your starter. But if a guard goes down, let's just say Cody Mark goes down next year. Graham Barton can slide over to guard, and you can have Jake Majors be your center for the time being. He can be like a spot starter. I think Jake Majors can do really, really well in the Buccaneers system, especially because you got help from Graham Barton, who loved him coming out last year, hate him going to the Buccaneers. But I really like Jake Majors. I think that he could just be a solid. He's not going to be anything spectacular, but just be a solid guy who can right now be a backup or be like a spot starter in case somebody gets injured. Like I said, I really like Jake Majors. He has potential. Now moving on to a tackle prospect from Oklahoma State, and that is going to be Dalton Cooper, who went undrafted to the Chiefs. Now, Dalton Cooper is kind of in the same exact way that I like Ozzie Trapillo, but Ozzie Trapillo is obviously way better, but really good in pass protection as far as like really good mirroring, really good feet. Does he have the best anchor? No. And does he have the best power? No. Like I said, he's 23, 24. He's also older one. The other one is also older one. But really great in pass protection. So, just a solid option, especially when you need tackle help at the Chiefs. And the other impact for him is that I think there's potential he'll probably make like the practice squad this year and then roster next year. Because here's the reason. Obviously, the Chiefs are throwing everything at tackle this past 2 seasons. So they got Josh Simmons, they got Jalen Moore, they still have Jawan Taylor, and then I'm trying to think who else they had. I think I wrote it down. Oh yeah, Wayne Morris from Oklahoma. That's right. Sorry. So right now, those are probably going to be your four tackles going into this year. Next year, and I feel pretty confident the Chiefs are going to do this. The Chiefs can cut Jawan Taylor and save $20 million. Now, who do they have to pay next year? They got to pay Trey Smith. So I feel pretty confident they're just going to cut Jawan Taylor and use that money to sign Trey Smith. But that's pretty much almost like a guarantee at this point, because why would you want to keep Jawan Taylor on the roster when you sign Jalen Moore to a 2-year deal and you also got Josh Simmons in the draft? So Dalton Cooper can be a practice squad player this year and then move on to the actual roster next year to be that 4th tackle because, like I said, really good in pass protection. He'll have some more time to develop some of his skills, and I think that the Chiefs are going to like his demeanor as well. From what I remember doing a little bit of research on him, because I was kind of looking at him at potentially being for the Panthers, was that Oklahoma State really likes him, really good leader in the locker room as well. So I think this would be good for the Chiefs to have, is someone who actually is decent and also is a leader. So even though he's like a backup tackle, I think that's a really good spot for them because they desperately need it, especially if Josh Simmons is not healthy, which he should be, presumably, even though he fell in the draft. Chiefs aren't going to take him if they don't feel like he's healthy enough. They take him. They can rest him for this year if they want to or not. But still, Dalton Cooper, love that spot for him. Really good pass protection. And then there is one that I'm very surprised when undrafted, and that is Addison West from Western Michigan. He undrafted to the Dolphins. That is a perfect spot for him, by the way, because Dolphins need all the help they can possibly get on the offensive line, especially in the interior. I mean, you do not want Liam Eichenberg starting. So Addison West, he was a 3-year starter. He had no sacks his senior year, and also he was an All-American. So, I know it's Western Michigan, but, nobody's going to draft him. I legitimately thought he was going to be drafted in the 6th round, and he went on undrafted. I'm baffled by that. But I know he's 24. Like I said, he's 24 years old. That's fine. But, okay, he's 24 years old. He's good right now. You get him for a 4-year contract. By the time he's 28, if he's still good, you only have to pay him one more contract for 3 years to get him his 28, 29, 30, 31-ish year. And then you got him for pretty much his whole entire prime. So that, I don't understand. Nobody's taking a chance on him. But dude's really good. Right now, sure, if you want him to have as a backup and a spot starter, that's fine. But he played all along the offensive line, especially all along the interior. And you need help on the interior. So I think there's a possibility that he could start this year if he pushes in training camp. Because, like I said, they need help everywhere they possibly can have. Obviously, in the 2nd round, they got I'm trying to remember if it was Jonas Savanaia. I think it was Jonas Savanaia because basically trying to replace what they had with Robert Hunt at right guard, Philip Prekoff. I do like that pick. I will say that. I do like that pick. But you still need help at left guard. So it's just saying, because I think they also lost Robert Jones, if I remember, to the Cowboys, and that was their starter at right guard, if I remember correctly. So you still need help at offensive line. So I love him being there. Like I said, he's really good in pass protection, and he's really good at reach blocks. And guess what? The Dolphins do a lot of that's reach blocks. So he's going to be perfect for that system. So like I think Addison West, someone to look out for. There was one more offensive line that I had potentially, but I crossed him off his list because there's still some things that are like up in the air by him. So don't want to talk about him just yet. But yeah, so really, really great guard or center prospect, like I said, for the Dolphins. I think he's going to make the roster as well. So that's going to be offense. So now moving on to defense. Like I said, these are fourth-round picks all the way to undrafted free agents. So starting off with edge rusher, and I really only have one. I want to at least shout out Braden Swinson. There's like some stuff with him as far as like his coaching ability. I didn't know about that until a little bit later. That's the reason why I didn't know he was going to fall that far. But apparently, like at LSU, none of his position coaches liked him, which is not a good sign at all. So if I had to guess, I'm assuming that's the reason why he fell all the way to the fifth round. But good on him going to the Patriots. They desperately need pass rushers. So want to give him a shout out, but don't want to give him a deep dive. And also, I know taking one in the third round, but I still love him. Josiah Stewart going to the Rams, absolutely outstanding position for him. We'll talk about it more on Gridiron Gurus, shameless plug, on the YouTube channel. Like I said, we do a podcast episode every single week. Eventually, starting in June and July, we'll do like a breakdown of every single NFC and AFC division. I'm going to be talking about Josiah Stewart to the Rams. I love that pick for them, and I love Josiah Stewart. So, absolute dog going to the Rams. Shout-outs over with. Now getting to the actual person that did get drafted in the fourth round. That's going to be Kyle Kennard at 125 to the Chargers. Now, in their rotation, I feel like he's going to be more of just a pass rush specialist because, like I said, right now they still have Tui and they also have Khalil Mack. So that's going to be their starter edge rushers. If they need a pass rush specialist like Kyle Kennard is, I feel pretty confident because, like I said, he's really good with some of the speed to power. I think that he has a little bit tighter hips. Like I said, that's a little bit of one of his knocks, but he's a little bit undersized. He has good leverage. Like I said, I think he could be a solid option that gets you. I mean, he's like more of a compliment to Tui because Tui's more of a power rusher. Kyle Kennard would be more of a speed rusher in this case. I think he can be a guy that can get 5 to 6 sacks a year, and that's going to be amazing for a guy who's going to be in rotation. So, like for instance, like Nate Herbig for the Steelers right now gets you what I don't know exactly, but like in that kind of scenario, like your third kind of option that can get you sacks, can spell for someone like the veterans, especially because Khalil Mack is what 32, 33. Like I said, he's getting old. He's getting pretty sick and old. So I love that for Kyle Kennard. He doesn't have to be the guy. He doesn't even have to be the Robin. He can be Catwoman in this scenario. But he's third option that I really, really like that he's going to be good in a good system, especially like, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Was at Michigan 2 years ago. He's going to be a head coach. I just can't think of his name right now. Young guy, like 33, 34. Anyways, Chargers defensive coordinator, more than likely is going to get a head coaching job next year. Just letting you know. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I feel really bad about that. Sometimes names just escape me. But anyways, Kyle Kennard going there. Good on him. That's the only really like edge rusher outside like Braden Swinson that like went in day 3 that I feel like, okay, they can make a pretty good leap. David Walker, sure, I do like him, but I don't know why they're putting him or they're announcing him as being like that late Logan Hall backup. Why are you putting him inside when he's 6 foot like 260? Like he's a really good edge rusher, but I don't know why they're putting him in that way unless they want to beef him up a little bit, which is fine. If they beef him up to like 280, I would hate that because I like David Walker as well from Central Arkansas. So I don't know what the Buccaneers are doing with him. I just want to give him a shout out there too because David Walker, if he does really well for the Buccaneers have already had an amazing draft. We'll be very ticked off about that. Anyways, on to defensive tackles. Now there are 3 defensive tackles, and with another shout out that I really, really like. Starting off with pick 113 to the 49ers, CJ West. The 49ers obviously are getting a lot of hate because they didn't take offensive line. And sure, you could talk about that. The first pick, they got Malcolm Williams. Then they got Alfred Collins. Okay, two really good run defenders. They desperately need that. And then they take CJ West. Dude, CJ West with Alfred Collins. No one is running on that team. Like, legitimately, like, I want to point this out too a little bit because it's a little bit different. But like back in 2013, I'm making my Panthers video already, like writing the script. We got Star Lutulele, and then we also got Kwan Short. Both of them rookies. Started them as rookies, and it revolutionized our defense because one was a pass rusher who still has some run defense, and then one was a like absolute run stuffer. CJ West, I don't think gets enough credit for the Indiana defense. He has pass rush moves. He is going to be he's going to be more of like a three technique who has amazing run stuffing abilities. And you got Alfred Collins with your nose tackle. So right now your starting defensive line is going to be Michael Williams, who is a really good run stuffer right now, who has some pass rusher capabilities, who doesn't have to be the guy just now because you also have Nick Bosa on the other end. And then you have CJ West, and you also have Alfred Collins. Like I said in the offseason, their defense tackle room was absolutely abysmal. Like it was like, I'm trying to think of the guy from Missouri that I just don't like. He's not that good. And then there's somebody else too. It was just like no-name people because they had to basically just cut everybody. Now they revamped it with two really good rookies who are going to have immediate impact, and CJ West is going to be so good. So I love that. Going to the 49ers, I think he's going to be impact, and especially going to Robert Saleh's defense, he's going to get even better than he already is. So look out for that. CJ West, absolutely amazing dog. Next, 137 to the Patriots is going to be Joshua Farmer from Florida State. Joshua Farmer, talked about it in my defensive line video. Like I said, he jumped off to me last year when I was looking at Braden Fisk and also at Jared Verse. Really great in like disruptor. That's mainly what he is. He's somewhat good against the run, but like sometimes, like I said, he gets a little bit too ambitious is the word I want to say, and overly pursuit. But in the Patriots system, he doesn't have to start. He can be the backup to either Barmore or also to Williams. So he doesn't, like I said, doesn't have to start. Can be like a rotational guy. And that's perfectly fine for him. I think he has a really good motor. Like I said, he's gonna get a lot of training because he's gonna be the backup, and he's going to a system that is going to need him, like I said, a Mike Vrabel system. So I love that for Joshua Farmer. Love that for the Patriots. And also, like I said, I think there's a chance he could potentially get some playing time early on in his career because Barmore's coming off injury. We assume that he's going to be back fully healthy, but that's also so one of the things where you just kind of like, just making sure because it is a big guy who's come off injury. But love Joshua Farmer there. And like I said, he needs a little more refinement, but he can get that as a backup. And then also the last one before I kind of give a little shout outs. JJ Pegues going to 180 to the Raiders. Now, JJ Pegues is a very interesting prospect. So he actually was at Auburn for his first 2 years, I believe, because he was a tight end / defensive tackle and played both. Still played both when he was at Ole Miss these past 2 years, or past 3 years. I think it's past 2 years. Dude has so much potential. He's still learning more and more. And he doesn't have to start right away, which is the reason why I'm very happy for him because you have a veteran option already. I'm trying to think of the name off the top of my head. He's like 33 years old. Can't think of the top of my head for the Raiders. So he can sit behind him and Christian Wilkins. He has position flexibility where he's got a great first step. He's got still some good hand fighting. Like I said, he needs to get better as far as after that first step, after that he doesn't get that disruption. How is he able to stand his ground? I think he needs to work on a little bit more of that. But he also has capabilities on offense. So, if you're looking for a guy who can play a very interesting role for the Raiders offense, especially in goal line situations, JJ Pegues can be that for you. So, I want to point that out too because I think that's something that's not very valued in his game. That is something that you can get from him as being a guy who he can play Wildcat. He can get in these bunch sets in a specific play for a bunch set. Him with Michael Mayer and also with Brock Bowers. Like I said, that's a dangerous three wide receiver, tight end set. Like I said, if that's the case, if they want to use him with that. But JJ Pegues, really great developmental defensive line, fell in the draft a little bit. Like I said, a really great first step. good hand fighting. Just need to get better as far as like some of his power, some of his like what he's going to do after his first move doesn't work. So like some of his like counters you need to work on. But JJ McGee's really really great, a developmental guy. And I also want to shout out Cam Jackson for the Panthers. I know I'm shouting a little bit of Panthers, but Cam Jackson, absolute stalwart. Him and Desmond Watson were just like very very hard to run against. You saw it obviously against in Florida's defense this past season, but just want to kind of shout him out. He's going to be a backup to Bobby Brown Jr., which is Bobby Brown the third, which is fine, like I said. And then when we get in those packages, especially if we go against the Eagles, which we don't this year, but you got like the tush push, you got him and Bobby Brown. That's going to be very hard to run against. So I love that, getting Cam Jackson. So that's defensive line. Now moving on to linebacker, which there are 3 linebackers I want to talk about. First off is a guy who fell way farther than I thought he was going to. And I'm assuming it must have to be something with medical. And that's going to be Chris Paul Jr. at pick 176 to the Rams. Like I said, really great player who is a green dot. Like I said, he can be the leader on your defense. The Rams only signed Troy Reeder to a 1-year deal, who had a decent year last year. But they don't really value linebackers in general, which is fine because they have an amazing defensive line that can free up their linebackers. So if Chris Paul Jr. is just a backup his year, or if he takes Omar Spate's job, so you have him and Troy Reeder being your starters, that's fine. He can eventually be your replacement for Troy Reeder, because I'll talk about the other linebacker just next, and that is Chris Paul Jr. Like I said, can be the leader, can be the green dot, but Sean Dolak, who went undrafted to the Rams. Very surprising when undrafted. Really solid option. Really great speed. Really great instincts. Was a baller at Buffalo. I understand it's Buffalo, but still a really great linebacker who can play that Omar Spates role. So both of those players, Chris Paul Jr. and Sean Dolak, gives them at least some depth, because they had no depth whatsoever. Good depth, I will say that, at the Rams, who can potentially be starters next year or even this year. Like I said, I really like their potential. Nothing about Sean Dolak is, like I said, he just not only does he have great speed, not only does he have great instincts, but he's just a solid tackler. I mean, he had that. I can't remember exactly how many tackles he had this past year, but like there's a couple of games where he had like, I'm pretty sure close to 16 to 18 tackles a game. Like I said, absolutely dog in the run game. Love him for that. Needs a little bit better as far as the coverage, but like I really, really like Sean Dolak, his potential. And then the last one, at first I wanted to give a shout out, but then I was like, no. I really like this player. I really like this player, especially special teams, and that's going to be Jamon Dumas-Johnson from Kentucky. Went undrafted to the Packers. Like I said, very, very sure tackler. I will say that. I went to the Auburn Kentucky game. And there were some things that I liked, some things I didn't like about Kentucky. Unfortunately, Harrison wasn't healthy enough for me to watch him. But he's really, really a sure tackler. He is great on special teams, and we saw that also at Shrine Bowl, which is the reason why I thought that we might go after him, because he worked with Darren Bates, who's our assistant special teams coordinator. Love Darren Bates. So I thought that we might try to get him in as far as undrafted free agent, but now he's going to the Packers, who also need linebacker depth. Like I said, they have good linebackers. Not going to lie, they still have good linebackers, but they need good linebacker depth. He can be that linebacker 4, and it's like I said, he already has good special teams, and he showed at Shrine Bowl, also in Kentucky. So I think he can find himself a role on the defense, and specifically being a starter on special teams. So I think he can find a roster spot. I think he's a pretty good player. I think he's a really sure tackler. And you know what? If he's able to just be like a special teamer, special teams is a huge part of the game, especially with the new kickoff rules. So I love him going there. Wanted to shout him out, but I decided to give him his own little segment too, because love him. Now, 2 cornerbacks I kind of want to talk about. One, I'm surprised when undrafted. So it either means character or it means injury. Don't know which one it is. But another one, I kind of figured he'd be falling, and that's going to be at 177 to the Bills, Dorian Strong from Virginia Tech. He is a very, very good cover corner. Especially, like I said, like his instincts are really interesting and good. He just gets, I don't want to be disrespectful, but he gets bullied sometimes because he's a little bit smaller. He's a like 6'1", 6'2", but he's like 180 something. Like I said, he's a very, very slender guy, but he's a really good cover corner. So if you want someone like that, and you can also beef him up when he's at the Bills, because the Bills have plenty of corners right now. Like I said, they already got Maxwell Harrison. Obviously, they're still the starters. They got rid of Kyrie Elam. Good riddance for the Bills. I just think he's a good. If he can keep his hands on you, he's really good. If he can beef up a little bit better, I think he has potential to be like a rotational guy or even a quarterback too. If they want to put Maxwell Harrison in the nickel, like I said, now they'll probably put Benford in the nickel, anyways. But I love Dorian Strong. Like I said, he's right now he's more of a backup in case of injury, which we've seen him happen before. And like I said, he's just a really good cover corner. So if you want a really good cover corner, you got him in the 6th round. I feel really good about that for the Bills. And then the next one, like I said, he's a very, very talented, very long, very lean, strong corner. So it has to be either injury or it has to be character concerns. And that is Zy Alexander from LSU, who went undrafted to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have a very crowded cornerback room, so I don't know if he's going to be able to find himself on the roster, but I love him to death. Like I said, he's long, he's slender, and if he's able to keep his hands on the receivers, like a press man, then there's barely anybody who can really catch on him. However, his recovery speed is not the best, and his long speed is not the best. So, if you're looking for more just a press, sorry about that. If you're looking for just like a press cover, a press corner, is Alexander's your guy. And it's the kind of guy that the Seattle Seahawks like. But with how crowded it is, I don't know if he's going to make the roster. He could be a potential practice squad guy. And I just wanted to shout him out because I think that he has the talent, but because he fell, there's something up that I just don't know just yet. Not prove that knowledge. No fans usually are. So whatever the reason he fell, I think he's talented. Maybe not for the Seahawks. Maybe somebody else picks him up. But I like Zy Alexander. Now moving on. Last position is the safeties. So I have 2 safeties. And yes, I understand it's another Panthers player. At 122, we got Lathan Ransom. But dude is so good. Like, is he the most athletic guy in the world? No. But he's in the right spot at the right time every single time. Like, he's a leader. He was a leader on the Ohio State defense. That was really good last year. He can basically also make plays as well because he's so smart. Like I said, from what we've heard about him, always in the film room, always helping out other people as well. Like I said, he's the kind of guy that we want in our locker room. And with our much improved defense, him being next to Trayvon Merring, we need 2 sure tacklers, and both of them are sure tacklers. So I love that pick for us. Like I said, he is going to be more like our starting strong safety, because we have what's the best way to put it? We have barely any depth at all. So he's more like a starting strong safety. And like I said, maybe Damani Richardson can push him for that starting role, but he's really good as is. And then the last one I want to talk about is a guy that I really fell in love with. Free safety, more so just like a deep safety to kind of feel like just let him cover deep. Malachi Moore, dude from Bama at 130 to the Jets. I feel so confident he's going to work out for the Jets because I don't know, for some reason, I feel like he can be the Kirby Joseph to the Lions defense in this way for the Jets. Obviously Aaron Glenn coming over, he needs that safety help. I think Malachi Moore can be that guy, especially like you said, just like a long-ranging safety. Malachi Moore was at that Alabama. He's very experienced. He got starting reps as a freshman, played there for 5 years. Yes, he's 23, but he's really sneaking good. And like I said, if you're looking for a guy who's a decent tackler but a really good deep safety, that is Malachi Moore. So I love that. I love that for him because, even if he's just a backup to Cisco for this first year, that's fine. Cisco's only a 1-year deal, so more than likely they can let him go and let Malachi Moore take over. Like I say, he's a really good center fielder. So that's what I want to talk about with these draft videos, with the draft sleeper videos on offense and defense. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like I said, I'd love to hear your opinions on like what are some of my takes, or what are some players that you're looking at. Be like, either for your team or your opponent's team you hate that they got, that you think could possibly be really good. So thank you so much for watching. And like I said, I'll have a video out on Sunday, so be prepared for that one. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.